Binge or Bin from independent TV, giving you the lowdown on which TV shows are binge-worthy and which ones are bin-worthy. This week we've been watching The Bear on Disney Plus and BBC's Am I Being Unreasonable?
And we'll introduce you to our pick of hidden gems we think you should be watching.
Hey Ellie!
Hey Annabel!
How's it going?
Yeah, really good, thanks. I thought I'd just stand in for Jacob this week as he's on his great American road trip.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Are you ready to talk some TV?
Yes, absolutely ready. Born ready.
So this week I've been watching The Bear. For UK viewers, we're finally getting a chance to catch up on the buzz because it's arriving on Disney Plus this October. It's kind of a dark comedy drama and it follows this young chef called Kami, who leaves behind his prestigious career in like the fine dining restaurants of New York City to return home to Chicago, where he starts running his family's old like beef sandwich restaurant, which was left to him after his brother died. Cast-wise, you've got Jeremy Allen White in the lead role, and he plays it really perfectly. I think it's a role that you're always rooting for him. It's just a really human performance, and I think that's exactly what the character needs. There's also Ebon Moss-Backrack, who people will probably know from Girls. He played Desi in the Lena Dunham series a while back. And also foodie fans will recognize Matthew Matheson, who is this Canadian chef turned like YouTube star. And he serves on this as a co-producer as well as like has a small role on it.
This is your brother's house. I was running it fine without you.
Why didn't he leave it to you then?
So it's one of those shows where like the setting really feels like a character itself. Like there's so much conversation about how accurate it is to like the back of house kind of restaurant feel. It's super frenetic, super busy. And I think that comes a lot down to the series creator Chris Dora, who was also behind the brilliant Netflix series Rami. So he employed his sister Courtney, who was a former chef, to kind of serve as a culinary producer on the show alongside Matthew Matheson. And I think that's a big reason why the show feels so like true to life. Jeremy Allen White did like a 2-week crash course in a culinary school, and so did his co-star Ayu Edebiri, who plays his sort of like protege in the series. So yeah, I think there's just been a lot that's been done to make sure that it feels like accurate and true to what chefs go through on a day-to-day basis.
So would you say that's a binge or bin?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think you could probably guess it's a big binge. I think it's probably one of the best shows I've seen in a while. And this kind of captures that very stressful, like chef life behind the scenes, but it's really touching the whole series. And yeah, it's a massive binge. The Bear lives up to the buzz and it's a binge.
I have every intention of turning this into a respectable place of business. Eventually.
So I have been watching, hoovering up Am I Being Unreasonable? Which is Daisy May Cooper of This Country fame's new BBC comedy twisty thriller, which is named after a Mumsnet post, which I love. Am I Being Unreasonable? Or like in shorthand, ABU, apparently is how people refer to it. It basically stars Daisy May Cooper as a middle-class mum living in the countryside. She's living quite an isolated life, doesn't really, relate to the other competitive mums at the school gate, in quite an unfulfilling marriage. One day at the school gates, this mum called Jen comes along and she feels like she's finally found her soulmate in this other mum. And because she kind of puts her trust in her, all these sort of dark secrets start to tumble out. And yeah, it's tricky because I can't say too much about it because it's a bit of a mystery, but essentially what ensues is like a sort of twisting thriller, but with lots of really fresh comedy and loads of kind of references to Hun culture, which is super surprising, but was done really brilliantly.
She is vile.
Mum, school. Gotta go to school.
2 minutes. Just let me watch this.
You know what?
That's so unfair.
It just feels like, I don't know, something I haven't seen before. And, even though there are other shows out there by and for, young mums like Motherland, this one really has its own kind of flavour. I think at the same time, lots of people were kind of looking out for what Daisy May Cooper was going to do after This Country. It's all eyes on that, now that she's not writing with her brother Charlie. What's her new show going to be like? Is it going to have a different kind of flavour, and it actually does feel really different. It's something that Daisy May Cooper fans will love, and I think this country fans will love, but it's really bringing something else to the table, which is exciting.
So I feel like I already know where you're going with this, but is it a binge or a bin?
It's most definitely a binge. I hoovered up the 6 episodes in, I think, 2 or 3 days. And yeah, the actor it introduces, actor-writer Celine Hisley, she just is such a kind of bright and arresting presence on screen. And even though she's been in the industry for years, it really feels like this show is going to be her kind of big break. And honestly, I'd say the only thing about it I could criticise is that it feels too short, and it slightly feels too rushed. It could have had another 2 or 3 episodes, and I think that in a way can only really be a compliment for a series.
Sorry.
Do you want to talk about some hidden gems now?
Yes, yeah. So Hidden Gems is part of Binge or Bin, where we get to talk about the shows that we absolutely love, and that the ones that might have passed by your radar when they came out, but we think you should definitely dig into. So my hidden gem this week is Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is on Netflix until the 12th of October, which is when it gets taken off. So it's the perfect time to just binge it all while you can. So the show follows a really successful lawyer, Rebecca Bunch, who's played by the incomparable Rachel Bloom. And she kind of leaves her high-flying life in New York City on a whim to follow her teen sweetheart to West Covina in California. And I mean, on paper, I would hate Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. It's like a musical comedy rom-com show. And I was never into musicals. I wasn't ever into Glee or anything like that. So the premise kind of put me off at the beginning, but as soon as you get into it, it's so irresistibly charming and funny.
Hey dude, Rebecca Bunch here. Remember you said if I was ever in SoCal I should give you a buzz? Well, buzz, be about a con.
It's a really deranged love story, and it kind of amounts to stalking. She meets a new friend in West Covina, and they kind of just set out to capture the heart of this boy who has pretty much forgotten about her. But through her pursuit of Josh, who I will say also was one of the first Asian American romantic leads I've ever seen in the show. But we learn that she's kind of going through really tough things as well with mental health, but it never kind of loses sight of what it is. It is a comedy, and there are some sad parts, but it's always more funny than sad. The show kind of lives and dies with Bloom's performance, so it's a really good thing that honestly she just plays it pitch perfectly. It just always hits the right notes of hilarious and a little bit pathetic at the right moments. She also co-wrote the show alongside Aileen Brosh McKenna, whose credits include rom-coms like 27 Dresses and Devil Wears Prada. It's kind of a satire of the rom-com genre, but at the same time it has all of those really sweet ingredients of that genre that we love.
That this guy Josh just happens to be.
So my hidden gem is Abbott Elementary, which feels weird to describe as a hidden gem because it was nominated for so many Emmys this year. It's created by and stars Quinta Brunson, who's a brilliant kind of actor-comedian from Philadelphia, who essentially was inspired to write the show by her mother, who was a kindergarten school teacher. So when she was growing up, she was often, the first one to get to school with her mum, and she'd hang out in the, teacher's staff room and saw what was going on behind the scenes, and decided to write a mockumentary about underfunded public schools in Philadelphia.
Cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak.
This is a classroom, not a hoagie stand.
Hoagie.
We had it on the board.
It's a really kind of bright, sunny show. It's a kind of a gag a minute. And it's also set against the backdrop of quite a heavy theme, which is the kind of plight of teachers in underfunded public schools. And I think what's really brilliant about it is that there are plenty of schools kind of set in the corridors of high schools or about teenagers, but hardly any of them really delve into the experiences of their teachers. I know in sex education, some of my favourite scenes happen with the teachers when they're at home or their romantic relationships. But with shows like Euphoria and lots of other school set shows, it's all about the teens and not really about what's going on in the teachers' lives. Whereas this show really kind of delves into their plight and sees them, you know, when they're chatting between lessons and the creative ways that they come up with, you know, tackling poor funding in their schools, all while being hilarious. It doesn't kind of feel like it's didactic or shoving any message down your throat. It's just really funny, warm show. And because it's a mockumentary, the feel of it is kind of somewhere between other workplace comedies like Parks and Recs or The Office. And yeah, Quinta's just done an amazing job with it.
It sure ain't the money.
I could make more work in the street. Easy.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Binge or Bin. That's plenty of recommendations to get you through till next time. Don't forget to like and comment below and subscribe for more from independent TV.